Look now at the muscles of the lower extremity.
Is Sarah allowed?
What is this structure here?
Inguinal ligament.
Inguinal ligament. Right? Now,
I thought it was the shoulder for a
Me too.
this is
It
the
looks like
iliac crest. What is this right here? As
This.
is anterior superior iliac spine. And so this muscle here, labeled 3 and 4, it's really a bipartite muscle. It consists of two different muscle groups. It consists here of the iliacus, and it's joined by the psoas major. And so we can refer to them both together as the iliopsoas. They have a common function. They have a common insertion. The
That's why I
iliacus
didn't know those two things.
originates from the iliac crust and the anterior iliac fossa. Okay, that's simply the anterior face of the iliac bone. Its fibers pass deep to the inguinal ligament to insert upon the lesser trochanter. So if we look at skinny here, in the shadows, these muscles come down below the inguinal ligament and insert right here, along the lesser trochanter. They're joined by fibers from the psoas major. The psoas major is going to originate from the transverse processes of the lumbar vertebrae. The fibers are going to pass deep to the inguinal ligament with the iliacus, and it's going to insert upon the lesser trochanter. So when these muscles contract, they usually contract together, and they're going to cause flexion of the thigh at the hip. Imagine, for instance, that you're kicking a football. Okay? If you're kicking a football, you have to flex the thigh at the hip. You're going to contract the iliopsoas. Now, what nerve is passing right down the center here? Femoral nerve. So the femoral nerve is going to innervate most of the muscles of the anterior thigh. Remember that the femoral nerve here and the obturator nerve here are both branches of the lumbar plexus. But notice that the femoral nerve is lateral to the obturator nerve. The obturator nerve is positioned medially. And so the obturator is going to innervate muscles of the medial thigh. Let's go back. Now, I think I mentioned on this x-ray, and this is going to be true of all abdominal film, that the psoas major creates a shadow here. With certain conditions, you'll lose that shadow. For instance, appendicitis is associated with the loss of the right psoas shadow. Okay, so it's a landmark on abdominal films. I want to point out something also. This is as is, anterior superior iliac spine. What is this strap muscle coming across the thigh?
Sartorius.
Sartorius. Right, so it originates from the anterior superior iliac spine. In fact, that's the next muscle on the list, is the sartorius. Okay? The sartorius originates from the anterior superior iliac spine. It bypasses the hip joint. It also bypasses the knee joint. And it's going to insert upon the medial aspect of the tibia. This muscle, the sartorius, is called the Taylor's muscle. By the way, are y'all familiar with the term sartorial? It's related to dress, particularly men's dress or gentlemen's dress. So you might hear the term sartorial splendor. But sartorial refers to a tailor. And so this is called the tailor's muscle because many times if you go to a tailor, he'll sit on the ground with his legs crossed like this to take measurements. Okay? Now, all of the movements involved in crossing your legs are mediated by the sartorius. For instance, to sit like this, to cross my leg, I have to flex my thigh at the hip. Okay? To cross my leg out like this, I have to move my leg out. What is that movement called?
Abduction.
Abduction. Now, watch as I turn my leg to cross, like this. That's lateral rotation. And then I'm flexing at the knee. All four of those movements mediated by the sartorius. So flexion, abduction, lateral rotation at the hip, and flexion at the knee. Okay? Those are all the movements that are involved in crossing your legs. Now the sartorius is crossing the anterior thigh from lateral to medial. Okay? If we look at, I think we lost the sartorius on this one. Hold on.
Oh.
This is it.
How old are they? Models.
Oh, I don't, these are old models, I think. You know, these models are very expensive, by the way.
I figured
If you were to buy a new one like this would be like $750.
Oh, Lord.
But you can see how it's crossing from lateral to medial. And you see why it's called a strap muscle. Have a thin, elongated muscle. Its innervation, again, is the femoral nerve. All right.
Is that the one that you said is the talar muscle?
Yeah, it's the tailor's muscle. Now, are you taking notes now?
No.
Because we're going to do a little comparison shopping
I was
here.
taking notes for her.
Okay, you want to continue just focusing.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. All right. The next group of muscles, sometimes we have muscle groups, which consist of multiple individual muscles that are joined together into one functional unit. For instance, the adductors represent a group. Okay? The adductors can be broken down into the adductor brevis, the adductor magnus, the adductor longus. I'm not going to ask you to know individual muscles. Okay? But the idea is that they all originate from the pubic bone, and they all move down and laterally to insert upon the linea aspera. You remember where the linea aspera of the femur is? It's a ridge along its posterior aspect. Okay? So these muscles are originating here, up here along the pubic bone, and they're moving laterally to insert upon the femur. So they're pulling from a position medial to the femur, so they're going to adduct. The name tells you exactly what their function is. They're adductors. So when you're doing the jumping jacks, and I'll consider the first part the jump, when you go and do the jack and bring your legs back in, that's the adductors that are responsible for that movement. Now, because the adductors are located along the medial aspect of the thigh, what nerve provides their innervation?
Operator?
The obturator, right. Again, the obturator provides innervation to the medial muscles of the thigh, femoral nerve, anterior. Then there's another muscle that's really an adductor, but it looks a little bit different. It's a strap muscle. Okay. You see this muscle right here?
Mm-hmm.
This is called the gracilis. The gracilis. Okay? It's simply a modified adductor. In this picture, you can see it right here. It runs along the medial aspect of the thigh. Okay? Just like the adductors, it originates from the pubic bone. Okay? The only thing is, with regard to its insertion, instead of inserting upon the linea aspera, as do the adductors, it bypasses the knee joint and inserts upon the medial aspect of the tibia. Just below the medial condyle. So it inserts upon the medial tibia just below the medial condyle. If you look at skinny here, here's its insertion. So what is its function? Well, it's a modified adductor. It simply adducts. What is its innervation? Just like the adductors, the obturator nerve. So the adductors, the gracilis, those are kind of easy. Okay.
I don't know where
Now, what about these muscles of the anterior thigh? Okay. The major group in the anterior thigh is the quadriceps muscle group. How many individual muscles are in this group, do you think?
4.
That's why you're in business. Okay? 4.
Because you can count.
The most prominent. This is the quadriceps muscle group here. The most prominent is the anterior most, called the rectus femoris. What does rectus mean?
Straight.
Straight. So this is the straight muscle of the thigh. It resembles a feather if you simply look at it. Okay? Now, the rectus femoris is different from the other 3 muscles of the quadriceps. It originates from the anterior inferior iliac spine. Anterior superior, right below it, anterior inferior iliac spine. Distally, all of the muscles of the quadriceps, including the rectus femoris, join together to form the quadriceps tendon, located right here. And so, in a sense, it attaches to the patella. But that band of dense regular connective tissue is going to extend beyond the patella as the patella ligament, and then more distally attach to the tibial tuberosity. So, if I asked you for the insertion of the quadriceps, you wouldn't be incorrect if you said the patella. But you could also be correct if you said the tibial tuberosity. Because again, that band of connective tissue envelops the patella and still extends further to attach to the tibial tuberosity. So either answer there is correct. Okay? Now, the reason that the rectus femoris is different from the other 3 muscles is that it crosses both the hip joint and the knee joint. Okay? So by virtue of the fact that it crosses the hip joint, it assists with flexion of the thigh. Okay? By virtue of the fact that it crosses the knee joint, it assists with extension of the knee. Now, the other 3 muscles of the quadriceps group are referred to as vastus muscles. V-A-S-T-U-S. The vastus muscles. There's, here, in relation to the rectus femoris, this prominent muscle medial to it is the vastus medialis. This prominent muscle lateral to the rectus femoris is the vastus lateralis. And I have to remove the rectus femoris to demonstrate the 4th muscle, which is the vastus intermedius. So the 3 other muscles of the quadriceps group are referred to as vastus muscles: medialis, lateralis, and intermedius. All 3 of them originate from the femur. I'm not going to ask you where. Again, the insertion is through the quadriceps tendon onto the patella, which then extends further as the patella ligament onto the tibial tuberosity. Now, we said that the rectus femoris both flexes the thigh and extends the knee. The vastus muscles don't cross the hip joint, so their only function is to extend the knee. Remember that the quadriceps muscle receives its innervation from the femoral nerve, L2, 3, and 4. Okay, it's responsible for that knee-jerk reflex, or the quadriceps reflex. So, if we look at this, okay, what is this muscle here coming across like this? That's the sartorius, right. Now, what is this muscle coming down right here?
The rectus.
Rectus femoris. What about this one here?
The vastus medialis.
Medialis. The lateralis would be over here. And if you remove the rectus femoris, you would see the intermedius. Over here, here's the rectus femoris, which they've cut away here. And so deep to it is the intermedius. Yeah. This would be the rectus femoris. This would be the vastus medialis lateralis. By the way, you can see the sartorius coming across on the surface here.
It must be like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I would think.
Don't lie, Sarah, that's your body. What? Yeah, that's exactly what my legs look like. How did you know?
Jordan does do a lot of gym work, you know.
She wanted to get a job at the gym. She spent so much time there.
I can see that.
Colin told me I'm grumpy when I don't work out.
Well,
Was I wrong?
No. Who's
it's all about homes.
It's all
Hungry,
about work.
angry, lonely, and tired. You know, when you get that way, you get a little grumpy.
I think I'm happier when I'm tired. So when I'm actually not
This is
tired.
on the lonely.
I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming her.
What?
I don't think you're